Hi, good afternoon. My name is Jennifer Dotson, and I'm your host for Poetry Today. I'm very excited. We have a great guest. Ed Werstein is a proud member of the Wisconsin Fellowship of Poets. After a working career in manufacturing, workforce development, and union activity, he published his first poem at the age of 60, when his muse awoke and dragged herself out of bed. Since then, he has placed over 200 poems in various journals and anthologies. In 2018, he won the Council for Wisconsin Writers Lorene Niedecker Award, judged by Nicole Brown. He workshops his poetry with the Hartford Avenue Poets and is deeply grateful for the improvements their support has given to his poems. Thank you, Ed, for coming and joining me today.
Thank you for inviting me.
Well, if you're curious about our attire, we are wearing baseball themes, and that is because Ed is here to help promote his newest anthology, The Songs of Summer, Poems About Baseball, which Ed co-edited, and you're both contributors as well?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
With Tom Erickson, another poet from Wisconsin, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Excellent. The book is published by Water's Edge Press and came out last October and features, what, you said about 75?
About 75 poems.
Okay,
yeah.
and maybe 56 poets, or is that?
Yeah, I think the number is 56.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, very exciting. So Ed's going to take us out to the ball game today talking about this book. So how did it come about?
Well, Tom Erickson, the co-editor, and we both belong to the critique group, the Hartford Avenue Poets, and we were talking one day about, we're both big baseball fans, and Tom mentioned that he didn't think there had been a new anthology of baseball poetry written for a few years, and he thought it was about time, and so that's how the idea kind of germinated. And we approached Dawn Hogue, who's the editor of Water's Edge Press, about possibly doing an anthology, and she was enthusiastic about it. And so I had been connected through you to the Highland Park Poetry, and in Wisconsin we belong to the Wisconsin Fellowship of Poets. I had grown up in Michigan, so I'm also a member of the Michigan Poetry Society. So, and I'm a subscriber to a journal called Spitball, the literary journal of baseball poetry. So I sent out, requests to all those groups soliciting submissions for this anthology. And we ended up with about 225 submissions, and then had to figure out how to, select the best ones and make the anthology as good as we could make it.
Oh, right. Yeah. Wow. But that's a great, I mean, that's a lot of poetry that people were submitting,
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
What stood out to you in terms of, I mean, I guess, I haven't read the anthology, so I don't know, is it broken down into, I don't know, like innings? Or
No, we thought about various ways to do it, but basically we just, first of all, picked what we thought were the best 75 poems to put in the book. And then we just worked through an order. We just came up with the order that's in the book, and we let all the contributors know that their poems had been accepted, and they, responded enthusiastically, and, and then we took it from there.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was going to ask, so where you said, so did you get a good mix from all of those places you mentioned, Michigan,
Yes,
Wisconsin,
yes.
as well as Illinois?
There are many contributors from Wisconsin, several from Illinois, several from Michigan, and around the Midwest. We got submissions from California, from Oregon. We got 2 submissions from Europe.
Oh, wow.
One from a person who teaches at a university in Poland, and another from a woman who lives in Italy.
Oh my
so
goodness!
we were pretty happy with the breadth of the
sure.
the submissions that we got. Yeah,
That's great.
Yeah.
Is this you mentioned Dawn Hogue of Water's Edge Press? Is this the first book that you've done with her, or
No. I a few years ago, I get a lot of my own poetic prompts from news headlines,
Okay.
and so a few years ago, Dawn published a book for me called "Communique: Poems from the Headlines," and that one is laid out in a particular order. It's laid out like a Sunday newspaper with
Okay.
international news, national news, weather, sports.
Oh my goodness!
There are obituaries in it.
Oh my God.
So and Dawn was very easy to work with, and she's very good at promoting the books that she publishes, and so it was a no-brainer for us to go back
Sure.
to Dawn and work on the anthology with her.
Oh, great. Wonderful. I guess so now when I think about baseball fans, I don't often think about poetry lovers. So what has been that experience?
Well, first of all the sports in the United States, there are more poems about baseball than any other sport.
Okay.
I mean, think way back, Casey at the bat.
Oh, well, that's right. Okay.
Yeah. It's like ground zero for baseball poetry. So we expected, a good number of submissions, and especially, like I mentioned, Spitball magazine, they publish quarterly, and they always have a large selection of poetry in there, along with short stories and nonfiction, but a lot of poems about baseball every month.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah, every quarter. I mean, yeah.
So now, how had you written a lot of poems yourself about baseball before this project?
Several.
Okay.
I grew up near a small town in Michigan on a little farm, and baseball was a big part of our life. I had, cousins and schoolmates, and it was just the thing we did when the chores were done is play baseball.
Okay.
So yeah.
Well, I think I would love to hear hear at least. Let's start with an example from the collection. That would be great.
Okay. I'm going to start with actually with the final poem in the book, because I think it kind of is an example of what you'll find in the other poems. It's a poem by Pepper Trail, who lives in Ashland, Oregon, and it's titled "Ode to Baseball." You shine through the bright summer season, displayed in that space both emerald and diamond. Your history recorded in sagas of rookie seasons and career years, encoded in tables of RBI and ERA, demanding the impossible and conferring greatness upon those who fail only 2/3 of the time. No other game is so unhurried in its ebb and flow, opening up time for talk, room for words, the pop fly and the sky ball, the line drive and the frozen rope, the untouchable seeing eye single, and the dying quail faltering back to earth. The batter in his box fears the high and the hard, the chin music, waits for the curve that hangs, the breaking ball that does not break, hopes to deliver the grand slam, the matchless grandeur of the gesture and the brute force of the blow. Through the long quest of the season, you record our failures in errors and balks, grant redemption with the sacrifice and the steal, promise that relief will come when it is needed most, and preserve until the last batter of this timeless game our humble hope to make it safely home.
Oh, wow. Yeah, well, and I guess I hadn't really thought about the sort of the language of baseball,
Yes.
and there's a lot of that baseball language
Yeah.
in there, and great metaphors for, coming home. That's
Right.
everybody has sort of a nostalgic feeling about baseball. I think
Yeah.
most fans are introduced as kids and then become
Right.
devoted adults.
Yeah, and when we read that poem, I mean, it was pretty obvious right from the start that we wanted that to end the book. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
that's really lovely.
Yeah.
What's a dying quail?
A dying quail is it's a soft pop fly that falls between the infielders that are racing out to get it and the outfielders that are racing in to get it,
okay.
and neither of them gets it, and it just plops into the outfield.
Okay. Thank you for that. I think I've only been to 3 professional baseball games in my life. And I guess the thing that I remember the most aren't so much about the players, because I didn't really study them, but the people in the stands. Mm-hmm. And I did like the comment in there about how that it's the pace of it allows for conversation. Mm-hmm. And the sharing of words as well
Right.
as the experience,
Right.
So, did you have a poem that you wrote in here that you were going to share, or?
Yeah,
That'd be great.
I could if you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'd love
Okay.
to.
Do you want me to read that now?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. All right. So, like I said, I grew up on a little farm in Michigan. We had, in our family, there were 5 adjacent farms, including the farm that my dad grew up on, and then 2 of his brothers and 1 of his sisters, and our home were all adjacent farms. And
Okay.
in the summertime, when the chores were done, there was a little, initially we played baseball in the barnyard at my grandpa's farm, but then eventually my Uncle Jim, who lived across the road, built a little backstop and made a little diamond for us to play. And this is the other thing that happened a lot in my family. There was a lot of card playing. So on Sundays we would gather. In the summertime, we would all gather at the farm, and this is what happened. And the poem is called Summer Sundays. Out the back door at the homestead came our fathers and our uncles, lumbering down the gentle slope, posturing, boasting, warning us to get ready. Not so much tired of their card game as chased by Grandma and our aunts, who needed their table to prepare our dinner. They had folded their spades and hearts and invaded our diamond, raised our clubs, our bats, our lumber, their strong limbs with enough left after a long week of factory and farming to teach us a thing or two about baseball.
Do you have an? I love that personal moment about baseball and the family all coming together, and and the importance of the tables being relinquished for the cards for dinner. Did you? But obviously, you studied the game. Perhaps. Did you have a favorite team or favorite players?
The Monroe County, which is the county I grew up in, is halfway between Detroit and Toledo, Ohio, and so I grew up a big baseball fan. When I was 5 years old, my mom had younger children in the house, and I got sick, and she was harried, and she brought the radio down from the kitchen into my bedroom, plugged it in, turned it on, and said, "Here, listen to the ball game." And I fell in love with the Detroit Tigers, and I'm still a fan of the Tigers, although in 1969 I moved to Milwaukee, and since then I've become also a fan of the Milwaukee Brewers.
Okay,
So,
all right.
So I have 2 teams.
2 teams, all right.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
Yeah, right.
Is that dangerous to admit in
No,
certain
not
company
at all.
at all?
Right,
Okay.
right.
Okay. Well, I'd love to hear some of the more of the contributions, more poems.
Okay.
Great.
All right. I'm going to read one. Let's see if I can find it here. Where is Sarah? Oh, here it is. This is a poem by Sharon Daly, who grew up in Pittsburgh, but now lives near Madison, Wisconsin. But there's a lot of references to Pittsburgh baseball in this poem. It's called Home Plate. On summer Saturdays, I straddled the frayed nylon straps of the lounge chair on the borderland between the New York Yankees and the Pittsburgh Pirates. Each swing of the bat provoked as much pain and pleasure as the pungent Limburger cheese my father spread thick on dark rye with raw onions and made me weep. The portable antenna was tuned to the announcer calling balls and strikes and lauding the legendary Bill Mazeroski, aka The Glove, and Roberto Clemente, the right field wonder. My dad held the plate, offering bites that expanded the taste of childhood beyond our rickety porch to Forbes Field, filled with cheering fans and sunlit grass of well-tended beauty, so unlike the weed-choked lawn that surrounded us. We always hoped the score would go our way. Imagine the souls of the players we rooted for rounding the bases, the sharp tang of Limburger and onions suffused in the air, finding their way home.
Very nice.
So there's a lot of references in baseball. The home is a big image in baseball. Getting
home,
safely home.
Getting safely home.
Yeah.
No, that's very cool. Now, as a kid, I don't recall really knowing anything about the game, and my older stepbrother, we would sometimes try to write magazines, and I was always frustrated that he always got to write the sports columns, and I would try, but since I didn't really know anything about the games, I would be, putting out ridiculous scores for the baseball, like 120. So obviously,
not too likely.
Not too likely.
Right.
But I did, when I was in second grade, I wrote a play about a little group of kids who are playing baseball, and then they get, I don't know, somehow a famous baseball player or a professional ball player from the New York Yankees comes to meet with the kids and plays with them or whatever. And anyway, so little play, second grade. The public school, the teacher was impressed, the principal was impressed. However, I was in Brooklyn, and I didn't realize that was Mets territory. And they said, so they brought me into the principal's office and said, Jennifer, we would love to produce your play here at the school, and we've got permission to have a real professional baseball player come and play, be part of the experience, but he's on a different team. Would you mind if we change it to the Mets? And I was like, oh no, not going to happen. So there got that creative opportunity.
I'm sitting here wondering how you could grow up in Brooklyn and not be a baseball fan. But
well, yeah, exactly. My parents were artists, so they weren't. But, I think a lot of what you're talking about, many of these memories are transmitted through the parents. I mean, the Limburger cheese and the playing cards in the barn. It's from the parents. So if your parents don't really play so much, then or care so much, then it's hard to get them like that same. So anyway, my naivete. But enough about me. I'd love to hear. I know I can see you've got several poems marked, so I'd love to read some more.
All right. This is a poem by Kevin Miller, who lives in Tacoma, Washington. It's called Looking Out This Window, Thinking of Ernie Banks and William Carlos Williams. The broken-handled wheelbarrow leans into its third spring, propped like a knothole kid against the side fence. The games go on. Those of us benched because of age understand quiet is like a rainout. We pause to rebuild tired arms, recover from losses, slumps, errors. We have time to turn this thing around, rally. The rookies are immortal. They laugh and tip their caps from the end of the bench, understanding parts ritual and superstition. We never pack the bats till the last out.
Ah, right.
Yeah.
Well, was there more that you wanted to tell me about the book itself or the experience of the book? Or
Well, we've had 2 readings from the book in Wisconsin. We had one in Madison, and we had about between 24 and 30 people show up for that for that reading, and that went very well. It was at a little bookstore in Madison, and then on March 1st, we had a reading at an Irish pub in Milwaukee called County Clare, and we had about 40 people at that reading.
Wow. Okay.
We handed out Cracker Jacks and red vine licorice, and several of the poets showed up and read their poems. So it's been, both the readings we've had so far have gone really well, and we're expecting to have a great time here in Highland Park next month also.
Yes, and that's going to be Saturday, June 13th at 4 p.m. at Secret World Books, which is located at 1774 2nd Street in Highland Park. There is ample parking on the street, but then there's also 3-hour free parking at the Port Clinton Square underground garage that you access the entrance on Laurel Avenue. And so anyway, hope that everybody who's in the area who loves baseball will want to turn out for that event. It should be a really good time, and we hope that even some non-poetry fans, but maybe just baseball fans, will come out and listen to us.
Poetry is poetry.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. But it can be intimidating for some people who aren't accustomed to it. So that if you didn't grow up with poetry and baseball, sometimes it can be intimidating. Or you look like you were looking for another poem to share. We love it.
Okay. Well, I'll read a poem by my co-editor, Tom Erickson. It's simply titled Baseball. It starts with an epigram from Orson Welles. Middle age is the enemy of art. The enemy of my writing is baseball. In my middle age, I can watch baseball on TV all day long as I will myself to some dangerous edge of absorption. Why are some left-handers harder on right-handers than left-handers? It's mind-boggling, like a koan from Kung Fu. Tell me what is, Buddha, and then tell me why this pitcher's reverse splits defy all logic. How come fastballs are on average 3 miles per hour faster than 10 years ago? The easy answer is PEDs, but that doesn't make sense because baseball is clean now. Right, little naive weed hopper? Why is the foul pole fair? When I do go to games, I always keep score. I didn't know why until I read the small type on the program. Your scorecard will serve as a written memento and historical record of this game. So there. It's better to stay home, to run home, to go home, than to go to the park, because on TV, you can watch the catcher give the signs to the pitcher. Give me a beer, let me sit in my blue chair with the windows open, and as night falls, anticipate the next pitch. The whole game could pivot on the next 10 seconds, 250 times a game. Man, oh man, oh man. My grandfather lived by himself in a trailer at the end of a road in a little town where he played center field in his youth. At the end of his life, he was almost blind, so he would sit right in front of the TV, lean in on his cane, and peer at the Tigers game. The closer he got to the screen, the easier it was to get lost in the rhythms of the game. The easier it was in his old age to let the imponderables be.
Oh, wow. That's great.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
like the balance, also the humor in that
Yeah.
as well. That's
Yeah.
fun. Very nice, very nice. Wow. I guess that I thank you so much for joining us today. It's wonderful to see
Yeah.
you again, and
Yeah,
look
you
forward
too.
to look
Yeah.
forward to seeing you in June.
Yeah, thank you
And
for
we can talk.
again for inviting me, and I hope to see people come out next month to the reading for
Yes,
the
yes.
Songs
Okay,
of Summer.
again, that's going to be the Songs of Summer poems about baseball featured at Secret World Books by Highland Park Poetry. And the Secret World, that's going to be Saturday, June 13th at 4 p.m. There is going to be an open mic after the reading, so poets who want to participate, that can be sure to bring their poems with as well.
I should mention that
Okay.
any contributors that come to the reading can read the poem they contributed to the book and another poem
Oh,
about
wonderful.
baseball.
Okay,
Either
that's great.
either of their own or their favorite baseball poem by another author.
I like that. Okay, so the place will be just bouncing off with
jam-packed.
jam-packed with lots of baseball poetry. So that's wonderful. Well, thank you, Ed.
Thank you,
Great
Jennifer.
to see you,
Yeah,
and
you too.
we'll see you next month.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
Take care.